Okay, we'll share you a Mishnah over here in Daf Nun Beis. We could all see it. Like Kesuvos Banadichrin. Okay, we know this Kesuvos Banadichrin. You've been through this. Now, we spoke about Mizonis. The new parak we're going to be dealing with the Mizonis. The Mizonis is the Tanai Ksuba, and it said the following: Ate Yasu bebeisi. You should go ahead and live in my house. Umidzane minchasai, and go ahead and be sustained from my property. Kol yimei megar gumunasayich bebeisi. The whole time you live in my house. And then chayev. The chayev is two Tanai Bezdin. Kachoyu Anshe Yerushalayim Koisrin. Anshe Yerushalayim would write this, that as long as you're living in my house, you're going to get sustained. Anshe Galul Hoyu Koisrin Kanshe Yerushalayim. They would write the same thing. In other words, as long as you're not married, you're going to be sustained from what? From the ksuba, from the estate. Or also, I mean, we said if you take your ksuba, you'd also lose your mizonas. However, Anshe Yehuda Hoyu Koisrin. You can be sustained until the Yorshim decide to give you your ksuba. If they want the Yorshim, give the ksuba. And let her loose. So we have machloikis, or between not machloikis but different customs. In Yerushalayim and in Golol, they would allow the woman to live in the estate as long as what she wanted, and in Yehuda, they could force the issue. If they wanted her to get rid of her, they could in fact get rid of her. And with that in mind, we begin the new parak. With that in mind, we begin a new parak, and we are recording Baruch Hashem. So we are on. We're in the new parak. We're beginning the parak Almana Nizayna. So we know that one of the Kesuvos was that a woman would be sustained from the estate all the time she's an almana. So almana Nizaynis minichse yisaynim. Almana is Nizaynis. She is supported from the nichse yisaynim. Ma'asu yadah shalahen. However, just like the husband, in lieu of the Mizaynis, receives the workings of her hands. You might remember that was like the five slime of wool that she could provide, right? So just as the husband receives the Ma'asiyadaha in lieu of Mizaynis, the Yisayimim who are supporting the Almanah from the estate would also receive it. Avram, you slept in the car, I assume? Okay, fine. Again, we don't, you have to get an RV, I think,
Maybe in my next life.
Not quite.
No, I think in this life, I think like next week.
I think his next wife.
Oh, his next wife. I may have asked him.
Amen.
Anyway, so now,
better check out that ksuba she's got.
You don't know how many fights we had about the RV. I wanted to do road trips.
I found it. That's why.
Okay, enough. You had your time, Avrami. Enough now. It's enough. Okay, so now, your Simon would receive the Ma'asiyadaha of the woman, just like the husband was, because she's getting the Mizaynis. However, if it's not their mother, they would inherit their mother. If it's not their mother, it's their stepmother, then they're not machayev to bury her, not to pay for the burial. Yarsheha, Yarshik Subasa, her Yarshim, the ones who inherit her Ksuba, chayav mikfurasa, they would chayev to bury her. So today, we're going to focus on this inyan of Mizaynis. Now, the Lashon of the Mishnah says, Nizaynis, she's being provided. Iboilahu, Nizaynis Tanan, Oyhani Zaynis. Now, the difference would be, fellas, Nizaynis means she is supported. Hani Zaynis, that is being supported. What's the difference? Nizaynis is a statement. You have to support her. Almana Nizaynis, and Almana is supported. That would corroborate the men of Yerushalayim and Golol. But Almana Hani Zaynis an almana that is being supported, meaning there's an option of being supported, that would support the svara of Bnei Yehuda. Again, that's the Mishnah that we brought in, the two different shittas over here, guys, which makes a lot of sense. If your goyris almana nizaynis almana is supported, meaning it's not optional. That's the minig of Yerushalayim and Galil. Conversely, if you say almana hanizaynis, almana that is in the act of being supported, meaning it's optional, that would be what the minig of Yehuda, that it's optional, they can get rid of her or not. Tanan says the Gemara, Iboilahu, nizaynis tanan or nizaynis tanan? Nizaynis tanan u'ka'anshe Galil, right? V'leisagi lo yohavla. Nizaynis is that an almana that almana is supported, which would be like the anshe Galil, you don't have an option. Idilma almana hanizaynis that is being supported. Tanan u'ka'anshe Yehuda, like the minig of Yehuda, like we brought in for the people who came on time for the share. They saw the what we did. Okay, the iboi lo yohavla, and if they want, they don't have to give, because again, that was the minig that you're supported the whole time you want to. So, Tashma, let's see, Pasha the Shaila Amid Aleph. Amr Rav Zera, Amar Shmuel, Mitzias Almana La'atzma. If the Almana finds the Mitzia, it goes to her. Now we learned early in the Masechta that Mishum Eva, because of hatred, the Mitzia of the husband, of the wife, would go to the husband. Here you're telling me the Mitzia would go to what? The woman. A woman that is being supported, Shapir, then it would make sense. In other words, she really is, like they're doing her a favor, Hani Zainis, that she is being supported, but she really doesn't know them anything. So Memela would make sense, the Mitzia belongs to her. El-Iyam in the Zainis Tanan, and a woman is supported, so the idea would be if she's being supported by the estate, there's no difference between the almana, the Yisayimim, and the father. Whatever chiyuv the woman has vis-a-vis the father, she would have vis-a-vis the Yisayimim. So therefore, just as the mitzia of the woman goes to the husband, so to the mitzia should go to the Yisayimim. And a woman, almana, is supported from the estate. It's not optional. Nahavi kibal, she should be just like her husband. And ma bal mitzias isha labayla. So let's bring a raya that the right gersa should be almana hani zaynis, an almana that is being supported, like as a favor. Says like we have our gersa. An almana is supported. If she's being supported, why doesn't the mitzia go to herself and not go to the estate, just like it would go to her husband if he was alive? It's a gzeira. The husband, it may cause discord between man and wife. But Hani, regarding the assignment, the Havi Luavis, let them dislike her. Who cares? In other words, if they're forced to support her, they're forced to support her. The Mitzia doesn't go to them, tough luck. In other words, the whole din of this Gzeir Misham Eva, that only applies to the husband. It doesn't apply to the assignment. And Melawat, it can sign that Nizaynus, she has to be supported by the estate. They don't have an option, like Yehuda and Galil, like Yerushalayim and Galil. On the last, Mitzia would belong to her. So, okay, anyway, just out of that, we're going to bring another thing. Now, we learned previously that a woman has to do things for her husband. Remember, she has to bake, she has to sew, she has to, take care of certain things. So it says the Gemara, Kol malachas sha'isha oisa l'bayla, 7 things, all the things that a woman has to do for her husband. Almana oisa l'yarshim, almana, she has to bake, she has to cook for the yarshim, she has to clean their clothing. Chutz v'mezigas ha'kois, with the exception of diluting the cup, v'atzos amito, or making the bed, v'achatzis panav yad of raglav, washing hands and feet, providing water. We said all those things are things that are derech chiba. Those are things that are unique to man and wife. So in that situation, a yasam would not, a woman would have to not provide it to the slimim, despite the fact that something she would provide for the husband. Amr B'Shuv ben Levi, Kamaleches sheha eved oisel rabbi, Talmud oisel rabbi. Any malacha that an eved does for the master, a Talmud does for the Rebbe. Kamalecha sheha eved oisel rabbi, a Talmud does for the Rebbe. Chutz me'asoris manal, with the exception of taking off his shoe. The taking off his shoe seems to be something an Eved would do. It's not something a Talmud has to do for a Rebbe. Amar Rava says, Rabbi Le'amarin el b'makom she'ein makir naisai. It's not a place where you don't recognize him. Now, what are you worried about? If the Talmud's going to take off the Rebbe's shoe, they're going to be choshed that the Talmud is an Evet Kanani. That's what you're worried about. You know, if he's doing the same things that an Evet would do, you're choshed that he's no different, and they might think he's an Evet. Avul makom she'ein makir naisai, in a place where they do recognize that he's a Talmud, then less lambad. Then we're not concerned that they're going to think he's an Eved, and the Talmud would even be able to take off the Rebbe's shoe. You know, you have these Amar Vashi, v'makom she'ein makir naisai nami le'amarin el delay manach tefillin. Avul manach tefillin less lambad. In other words, if the Talmud's wearing tefillin, you're not going to be choshing him for an Eved. So even if they don't recognize him, they won't mistake him for an Eved. Amar Avchia bar Abba Rabbi Yochanan, kol ha'maneach talmidaim l'shamshai. Anyone who stops his Talmud from being mishamashim, you're holding back chesed. Shneimah, the pasuk says, "La mosmar ehu chesed," one who holds back chesed from his friend. So therefore, you're holding back chesed from the Talmud. And the end of the pasuk is the yiras shaka yazoi. And Rav Nachman says, Rav Nachman yatzoma af parik member Yerushalayim shneimah v'yiras shaka yazoi. It's a big union for Rebbe to let a Talmud be mishamashim. It's an important thing. We've had certain Gemaras in Shas. They ask certain questions, and like Rabbi Yochanan would say, anyone who goes ahead and wraps up my bath towel on my head before I go to the base of merchatz. There's certain Gemaras that we say that that they're alluding to the fact that a Talmud is supposed to be mishamash a Rebbe. It's a big union of. I mean, it's even more than kiva. It's covered a Torah. It's covered a Messiah. It's a very, very big union that's put down. Amar Balaza almana shetafsa. Okay, now we know that the ksuba you can collect from only from mishubadim, and who are din the mezainis. The only thing from mishubad is what is karka to pay off the chi of mezainis. Now, what happens if a woman would go ahead and grab? In the case of mezainis, she wants to ensure that she's going to be taken care of. She grabs from the metaltalin. What happens in ksuba? She wants to be she's taken care of. She grabs a ksuba. That's the discussion we're going to have now. A woman said that is typhus. Almana shetafsa metaltalin mizona seha, and almana that's typhus metaltalin for what? For her ksuba, for her mezainis. Excuse me. Masha tafsa. Whatever she grabs, and we don't take it away from her. It's not meshubid. Whatever she takes, she takes. Tanya nami hachi, almana shetafsa metaltalin b'mezana seha, and almana who grabs metaltalin for the purpose of using it for a collection of mezainis, masha tafsa. The chen kiyasar of Dimi when he showed up from Eretz Yisrael, Omar Ma'aseh b'kalasa shurem shabsai shetafsa yiskaya malaya moish. She grabbed some type of packet that was holding a kli of or that was holding money, and which is obviously classic metaltalin. And it wasn't in the hands of what? Of the miyada. It wasn't in the hands of the chacham to take it out what? Of her hands. So you see that what? That they let her keep the metaltalin, it was grabbed from mezainis. If she gives metaltalin as a collection for ksuba, that we will take away from. Again, it's very interesting. They're both what? They're both, you can collect both of them. You can collect both of them from karka, but you only collect from karka. But if you typhus that, you collect it on one not. Maslama Ravashi, Maishno Ksuba the Makarki, blend the metaltali, Mizainis Nami and Makarki blend metaltali. What's the difference? In other words, if you're going to tell me you can grab the Mizainis, you can grab the Mizainis, so and you should be able to also get Ksuba. Why? Because the only thing that you can collect Mizainis from is karka. The only thing you can collect Kesuvos from is karka. So if you can allow by what to grab metaltalin from mezainis, you should allow for ksuba, and vice versa. If you don't allow by ksuba, the hatfasa by metaltalin by the mezainis should also be a hatfasa. Ella, what do you have to say? The mezaini might the tafsa. Hakanami the ksuba also. Naftali Ravina, Hachiamina Mishmei Rava, Kaba Sakh, the Allah is like you, that by metaltalin you could be typhus, but if you're typhus by from mezainis. But Masha'enkein, if you have typhus metaltalin ksuba, it's not a tfisa. What's the chilik? There's nice typhus here, very short. Let's do one line of typhus. The typhus almana shetapsa, Vim Taimar, 3 lines down. Maishna dil mezoine mahanya tfisa tvei miksuba. What's the chilik? In other words, on the surface, guys, they should have the same same guidelines. It should be the same halacha. Since you only can collect from karka and not metaltalin, so in manushach, if you can allow one, allow the other. Where's the chilik between grabbing from mizainis and grabbing from ksuba? It's very nice to learn this. V'yesh leimar, mishum the mizainis like tafrim and mishabde. Mizainis you cannot collect mishubadim. Al ksuba tarfim and mishabde. In other words, a woman may not have any recourse. She is limited to the bnei chayrin. There's no lien on a woman's mezainis. The Gemara in Shaleach, since the mezainis is such a common thing, all karmas would be problematic. So in order to go ahead and make sure that there's karmas, that there's business going on and money going on and cash flow going on, they said you cannot collect mezainis from mishubadim. Good. So therefore, why do we say good? The only place mezainis comes from is karka, but if she collects the metaltalin, since again she has no recourse, so it's a collection. Masha enkin ksuba, she doesn't need this security of collecting from metaltalin, grabbing. Why? Because even if she doesn't, there's always the recourse of going and collecting from the mishubadim, because there is a lien on the property. So it's much more. We don't have to go ahead and be machazek the halacha of collection of ksuba as much as the collection of mezainis. Despite the fact that both mezainis and ksuba are only collected from karka, not metaltalin, since mezainis is not collected from mishubadim, therefore they allow the tfisa to be a tfisa. Masha enkin ksuba, which is collected from mishubadim, even though it's only collected from karka and she grabbed metaltalin, therefore we do not let her keep it. Besides if that she'll collect it from mishubadim. Very nice svara to make a chilik between the two. Continues the Gemara. Almana, we had this much earlier in the Masechta. Almana shesasa shtayim shalosh shana v'leitaved mezainis if the mezainis. A woman who doesn't waits 2 or 3 years to collect her mezainis, she lost it. She lost it. She doesn't. Now we're going to see she only lost to collect lemafreya. She did not lose to collect in the future, only lemafreya. But mekam haba not. Now, question is, why do you have to say 2 or 3 years? Hash the shtayim if the sholosh miboy. If she lost the right to collect ksubi after 2 years, of course she lost the right to collect the mezainis. Excuse me, mezainis after 2 years. Of course she lost the right to collect it after 3. What are you telling me? Says the Gemara like kasha. Kan ba'aniya, kan ba'ashira. It depends. If she's an aniya, then she needs it earlier. It's 2 years. If she's an ashira and she does not need as much, then it's 3 years. 3 years that she could hold out. By a wealthy woman, a woman who's aniya, she can't hold out more than 2. So after aniya, after 2 years, we'll say it's Michael, and a shiri after 3 years, we'll say you're Michael. Inami kan b'prutza, kan b'tsnua. Over here, we're speaking about a woman who's very self-confident. A prutza would go to Bezdin, right? So that's a mechila after 3 years. But it's snua, who's less likely to go to Bezdin, then it's 3 years. And then it's 3 years. I said 3 years by prutza, I meant 2 years. Right. Amar Rava, lo yamaran el mafreya. That she lost mezainis does not mean completely. It means the ability to collect retroactively while she was owed for that 2-year period or the 3-year period, depending on her status. But after this period of time where she finally does go ahead and make a macha and announce in the business she'd like to collect, then yeshla she would have. Boy, Rabbi Yechna, Yisaimim sha'amru, the Yisaimim that we say, Nisanu, she says, Yisaimim sha'amru Nisanu, they said we gave him a zainis. V'hiyai meres le'natalti, and she says I didn't take. So what's the question over here? This is a question of a koyach hatayna. They say we gave, they say she didn't get. So what's our rule of thumb by dinei mamanis? This is guys olive base. Anyone who be moitzi money from the shus of a person, it's incumbent upon them to bring a raya. So the question is, whose money is this in the shus in? If it's in the shus of the yarsim, the mezainis, she has to bring a raya. If the mezainis is considered in her shus, then he would have to bring a raya. That's the subject at the end. The very, very, very basic concept idea. So now, boy, Rabbi Yechon, the following question: Yisaimim sh'amru nesananu v'yir meres le'natalti ami lehevi a raya. Upon who is to bring a raya? Amid base. So Nichse becheskas yasmi kaime. Do we say that the nechasim are in the jurisdiction of the assignment, and therefore Ba'al Almana lehevi raya, she has to bring a raya? Okay. Dilma nichse becheskas almana kaime. The chazak, the money is in the chazak of the almana. The ali assignment lehevi raya, and it's incumbent upon the assignment being a raya. Why do we say? Why do we say? Let's see how Rashi learns the Tutstadim. Nichse habal becheskas yasme. And she's the one who's going ahead and taking it away from them. And it's upon her to bring edim. That what would the raya be? That the assignment were made in front of the edim kibla, that she didn't get a mezainis. The whole time she doesn't bring edim, she can't bring it out from the chazaka of being in the jurisdiction of the assignment. In other words, where is Rashi's bothered by? Guys, if I ask you, who do you think owns it? I would say the assignment. They have the estate, right? The assignment have the estate. Where is the chazak of the woman over here? So Rashi is explaining the chazak of the woman is, since it's Tanai Bezdin, vis-a-vis Mizainis, that Tanai Bezdin makes it like it's in her Rishus. Or else the Svara seems to be clearly that it belongs to the assignment. They're holding on to the estate. They're the Yarshin, correct? So therefore, what's the Svara to say it's hers? It's a Tanai Bezdin. The Tanai Bezdin, that it will be hers. Very good. The Tashma, let's bring a raya. The Tani Levi, Almana calls man shaloi nisas. Almana, as long as she doesn't get married, meaning that she is collecting hard mezainis, ala yisayim lehevi raya. The yisayim have to bring a raya. Nises, now if she gets married and she wants to collect retroactively mezainis, she gets married, but she retroactively wants to collect mezainis. I guess it's within 2 years or 3 years, right? Allah lehevi raya, then she has to bring a raya. So you want to say it depends. Before marriage, it's in the chazaka of her. After marriage, it's the chazaka of Yisayimim. So that would be what? That l'chayri answer the shayla. So in other words, we're answering it's kind of a hybrid. It depends when. So I'm Rav Simi bar Ashi kitanoi. It's like it's a machlokes tanoim. So what's happening over here is Almana is selling her dead husband's estate, not all of it, right? She's selling only part of it, and now, since she's only selling part of it, she's not collecting the whole ksuba, she won't lose mezainis. So she's selling part of the estate, not the whole estate. And since she didn't collect the full ksuba, she's still entitled to mezainis. Meicheres, the Kesuvos, she writes, Eil mezainis, this that I'm selling you, I'm selling for my mezainis. Machati, the Eil ksayis machati, and this I'm selling for my ksuba. In other words, she has to delineate when she's selling this for her mezainis, and she's selling this for what? For her ksuba. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi Aimer, Meicheres v'Kesuvos stam. She goes ahead and sells it, and she doesn't have to write what she's selling it for, just stam. V'chein koicha yafa, and we conclude on the statement of Rabbi Yossi, that would appear to be a good thing. So again, she's selling her estate, part of the estate. She still wants to maintain the eating of the mezainis, and therefore she's not selling all of it. When she sells it, so Rabbi Yehuda says she has to delineate what the sale is for. This is for mezainis, and this is for ksuba. And Rabbi Yossi is of the opinion you don't have to delineate. Now, how does this come into the shaila of whose chazak it's in? Let's see the Gemara. My lav b'hakanif. Okay, here's the svaras hamachloikas between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yehuda says you have to delineate. This is mezainis and this is ksuba. The Amar boy lefushe sava nichse b'cheskas yasme kaime. The chazaka belongs to the assignment. The almana lehevi raya, and it's upon the almana to go ahead and bring a proof, right? It's on the almana to bring a proof exactly what, and therefore she has to delineate. Rabbi Yossi sava loy boy lefushe because nechasim b'cheskas almana kaime. V'al yisayim lehevi raya, and on the yisayim what would have to bring a raya. Let's see Rashi here. My lab b'hakanifli. The Rabbi Yehuda the Amar hapirish shafa. Law, she has to delineate. Savar nichse b'cheskas yasme kaime. V'iloi pirsha malik suva malam mezainas, and if she wouldn't explain which sale is for what item, soif kishetaver litfaya. In the end, when she's going to come to collect, yomrula mashem acharta l'ksuba macharta v'kabata ksuba secha, and whatever you sold for your ksuba, and therefore you're not entitled to mezainis. Again, she collects mezainis as long as she doesn't collect a ksuba. Why are we requiring her to delineate? Is we want to save her from the Taina, if she would sell it stam, she'd now come back to the Yisraelim and say, pay me my mezainis. They'd say, we don't know your mezainis, you just sold what ksuba. To avoid that, she must delineate that what I'm selling this for the ksuba and this for the mezainis. So there's no question. But when it's talking about that, why is she doing this? Is because she's going to come back to the assignment to collect. So obviously it must be in the rishus of the assignment. When you're forced to delineate, it's to avoid which problem that the Yisayim may be able to force the issue and get rid of her mezainis by saying she collected a ksuba. Obviously, therefore, it must be in their rishus. Rabbi Yehuda holds the cheskas yasmi kainei. That's Rabbi Yehuda. Now, Rabbi Yossi saw v'nichsei b'cheskas almana kainei, and therefore she don't have to worry about anything. She doesn't have to go ahead and delineate, and she's holding on to it. So we're not worried about anything, and therefore it's upon them to bring a raya. So we have a machlokes now. Whose rishus it is? Rabbi Yossi says it's the rishus of the Yisraelim, and Rabbi Yossi says it's the rishus of her. Okay, guys, got the raya from Yehuda, right? Again, you have a koyach hatayna. Why do you have to delineate? To avoid any problem of being able to recollect. Why would you have to recollect? Because obviously they're holding on to it. That's says Gemara. No, that's not exactly the case. I have another way out over here. Dilma l'kuli alma kaima. Dilma l'kuli alma nichsei b'cheskas almana kaima. Really, it's in the chazaka of the almana. So therefore, why do you have to delineate if it's in a chazaka? What are you worried about? You're not worried about losing something. The Yisayim have to be a raya. So what's pshat Rabbi Yehuda? Rabbi Yehuda eats a toiva kamash malon, le'likri lo rab senusa. You know what? A woman's selling a lot of property, and you don't know why she's selling it, but you know, the woman, her oven in her house is always cooking. She may have a few extra pounds on her. People are going to say, you know what? This woman ain't cheap to keep. She's not cheap to keep. So when she comes, obviously she's going to get remarried now. We're speaking about a woman who is either a grusha or a almana, right? So it's not good for futures, for her future shidduch resume. The people say that she's a gluttonous, that she loves to eat. So therefore, to avoid that, when you make the sale, you sell it, this is for my ksuba, and this is for my mezainis. If you'd sell it stam, you could say, you know what? It's for the mezainis. But by going ahead and delineate, you see that one. So it's just an Eitzah Toiva. Really, it's in the Chazaka of the Almana. And the reason you're delineating is not to avoid futures coming back to be mitzi from the assignment, because the assignment don't have it in their rishus. It's just an Eitzah Toiva to avoid a bad shidduch resume for the future that's saying that this woman likes to eat and she's not going to be cheap to keep. So therefore, there's no raya to. You want to say it's machlokes tanoim. You're not locked into saying it in the machlokes tanoim. Rabbi Yehuda can hold it's in the rishus of the almana as well. Now, what's the proof? The loyte mahachi had the boy Rabbi Yochanan the shaila whether whose rishus is in tifshalei. Let's be paished masnisan for the next mishnah. We should be able to be paished it. What does it say in the mishnah? My cheres the mezainis shalei bebezdin. You can sell. She can sell a mezainis, not in bezdin. We'll see why. Because when el mezainis macharti, I sold this in mezainis. Ella, why won't you push it from the Mishnah, guys? Guys, why won't you push it from the Mishnah? Why won't you push it from the Mishnah? The Mishnah says openly she can sell it from mezainis and say this is a mezainis. So let's be push it. It's in her rishus. Good. El, what I have to say. So lekal mashma mina the eitzah taiva kamashman. The whole reason there is an eitzah taiva that she shouldn't be a rav sunusa. Hachanami eitzah taiva kamashman. Inami the kuli alma becheskas nechasi becheskas yasmi kaime. Okay. In the first lashon we had her answer up like Rabbi Yehuda. Correct. Everyone said it's in the rishus of the. We answered up. Everyone says in the rishus of the almana, and the reason why you have to delineate is not to be mitzvah from the assignment, but for eitzah taiva. Now we're going to say everyone saw this in the chazaka of the assignment. Now we have to answer Rabbi Yossi. Now, behind the time of Rabbi Yossi, what's the reason of Rabbi Yossi? Kidabaya kashisha, damabaya kashisha, mashal Rabbi Yossi l'mad davad doimer l'shchivmi rash omar. A person's on his deathbed, and he says the following. We know the chiddush is divrei shchivmi is kiksuvim uchsum dami. You don't need a kinyan. Because of his state of perhaps he's dying, we don't want to go ahead and give him future anxiety, more anxiety than he already is in. And therefore we'll say that the words of the Shchiv Meirah is Kesuvim, is if it's written, Surim, it's given over. In other words, as the kinyan is made, even though there's no such kinyan as Amira, only regarding Hegdish do we say Amir L'Gavaya Kimsiras L'Heged. By Hegdish we say Amir is the kinyan. We don't say it usually by Bas of Adam, by Chulin. But over here by Shchiv Meirah will say it. So what does he say? The Shchiv Meirah says, Tnu Masayim Zuz Leploni Bal Chayvi. Give 200 zuz to so and so my Balchov. That's what he says. Give to X amount to give it to him. Now, Rotza b'chayv and Noitlin. If he wants, he could take it as a collection for a chayv. Rotza b'matana Noitlin. If he wants, he could take it as a matana. The Gemara in Baba Basra speaks out that he's entitled to two things. He's entitled to a chayv and he's entitled to a matana, both. Now, what's the advantage of a chayv or a matana? A chayv you'll collect from mishubadim. A matana you don't collect from anything. So now, what do we tell him? We say to him, you can either one, you can collect the 200 for a chayv, and the other one will be a matana, or Ratzib matana, you can collect some matana, and the other one will be a chayv. So, Ratzib chayv noitlan, Ratzib matana noitlan. In be matana noitlan, if he collects as the matana amid aleph, loy kach yafa koichay, right? Is it not better his koyach? Why? Because since he collects this as, right, it's not good as him. Why? Because he won't be able to collect from Mishubadim, right? Says Top Rashi. He'll be able, if he takes this as a matana, he'll be able to collect the other one as a chayiv. In other words, if he would collect the 200 as a chayiv, the future 200 he won't be able to collect if it's not around, because that's the only properties Mishubadim will be able to collect. So what do? We say the one that he has now collected as a matana, the remaining 200 will be a chayiv, and that'll be able to collect from Mishubadim. So that's the case of Eitzah Taiva Kamash Malon. Okay, guys, have a great Yontif. Enjoy, everyone. We'll see you, Bez Hashem, Tuesday night. Good Yontif.
That's it. Thanks, Liz.